Dudes and dudettes, how are you guys? This is Chazzy and welcome back to What's the Damage. It's been a while since I've done one of these, it's just been the mixer, talking about athletes, finishing up my NBA 2K21 playlist, and today is going to be something that you guys might not have expected me to ever complain about, because I'm pretty sure you should know at this point that I am a big fan of K-pop, and if you don't know, well, you just found out, I love K-pop to death. I listen to it every single day. I'm very, very addicted, and there was a moment in my personal life where I listened to 8 hours of K-pop. I talked about that in this video here, And today is gonna be What's the Damage, because I'm going to be talking about something that I actually do consider to be negative, within the K-pop industry, And it's gonna be a concept vlog, It's a new term that I'm coining on my channel, where it's a vlog where I just talk to you guys, not a lot of editing or clips or photos and stuff. And now here's the thing, guys. If it seems like I'm rushing, I'm really not. Okay, I just really want to talk about this. But I am a little pressed for time. I gotta get these vlogs out here because I'm falling short on content, I didn't even have time to shave my neck, by the way, if you guys noticed. I don't have time to shave there, So yeah, it's been gotta get these done before lunchtime, and you might notice that the lighting kind of sucks. It's because there's no sunlight today, but the show must go on. But yeah, so here's the thing, guys. Now, K-pop is a very versatile genre within music, and different from the Western pop that we listen to in the United States or any other place, maybe even in Europe, although that's actually not Western, is it? But I think that usually when we have pop music to go on about and to compare, it usually starts in the United States, that's where the most popular pop music is from. And Korean pop is much different, there's a lot more to be said when it comes to the toxicity within it, and it's actually funny because I recorded a video recently talking about the toxicity within pop music, but that was more about the actual pop music in the West and on the US. But K-pop is a little different, and when it comes to Korean music, there is a lot of how can I say? There's a lot of aggravating excess of workforce, as in they really overwork these little critters to the bone, and I have already made my position clear about this, how I think it's wrong, that they exploit these youngsters, because they start at a very young age, and even if you get to the success, the diameter of like BOA Kwan or something like that, like where you don't really need anyone else and you're not overworked, you just overwork yourself, it's still a very long and grueling climb to the top, However, there are a few things within K-pop that I do admit that I don't enjoy too much. Some of them are a little bit insensitive. Sometimes I complain that I can't really tell any of the members apart. Like a bunch of different girl K-pop groups, and like it's kind of hard to, cause this might come out really offensive, but it's hard to tell them apart, man, okay? I am aware that Asians suffer from this a lot, it's a little bit of a degree of xenophobia where you make fun of them because they all look very similar, but let's be honest, they do, okay? But within different Asian categories, like if that's okay to say, like Japanese people, they do in general look very similar. Korean people, they look similar. Chinese, they look similar. But I can, for example, differentiate a Korean person from a Japanese person and from a Chinese person as well, There are differences there, but within their own little bubbles, it is very difficult. And when it comes to K-pop, it's really, really hard, It's almost impossible. Sometimes I can memorize their names, but not which names are attributed to which, unless it's Blackpink. Blackpink makes it easier because, they usually have different colored hairs, Then again, they do dye their hairs very often, so it's really hard to know when exactly they're gonna, I don't know, man. But still, despite this, I still love them a lot, okay? Okay, but there is one overlying factor that is even worse than this, than the whole unable to tell the girls apart thing, and the guys too. It's the same thing. It's the same exact problem with the boy groups, but that's just I'm not even gonna get too much more into that. The problem that I have with K-pop, the main issue is the repackaging. Or not exactly that, because that's actually a specific problem, but basically just the amount of different albums that they have because of the repackages, okay? So basically, this is how it works. A K-pop group puts out many more albums a year than a typical pop artist will, because normally in Western pop, it's like one album. If an artist releases one album every year, that's already a good one, a good margin for success, but sometimes they take a few years or so between albums. But with K-pop, they sometimes sometimes release multiple albums in 1 year, you know. So, and it's not like, sometimes they are different albums, but it's not like a regular full-length album with 12 songs or more. Sometimes they have like a less, maybe like a 8 or 7, you know, but they call them albums, or sometimes mini albums, you know, which just makes the whole thing even more confusing. So they might have EPs, the extended plays, which in itself already comes with a few tracks, you know. Then there's a mini album which has a few more songs than a regular album, and then there's a full album with about 12 songs or so, and they release those all in the same year, you know. So, and sometimes there are remixes, there are some other kinds of mixes, there's edits, you know, and sometimes they do what is called a repackage, where they take an album that they already released and then they re-release it, but with additional songs. So it's like, it is essentially, it's pretty much like the difference between a regular album and a deluxe edition of that album, you know. So if you buy the deluxe edition or stream it on Spotify, you're going to get the same album no matter what, you know, but with additional songs. So it's like, okay, then why is the original album even available if the deluxe version or the repackage or whatever has all of the original songs plus a few extras, you know? So if you're the kind of person who still buys and consumes physical media, it would obviously make more sense to buy the deluxe version or the limited version or the repackaged, whatever, so you can get more for your buck, you know. But it is still really confusing because, like I said, they release multiple videos every year, man. Every year there's something new, you know. And there are groups who exaggerate a little bit more. I think Twice is one of the groups that most has albums, you know, and they're my favorite group, but it's really hard to keep up with them because just when I think I am up to date with Twice, they release another album or another mini album or a repackage of an album that I already heard before, you know. But quite possibly the worst example of this is a group called Luna, because they have a few members within them, but each member has their own individual solo work, you know. So you have the entire discography of Luna, but which is already a bunch of albums, mini albums, repackages, blah 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 blah, and then each individual member of Luna has the exact same thing as a solo artist. So it's really freaking confusing and actually aggravating, if I'm being honest, you know. I still like it a lot, but it gets confusing because you never know what comes first, what came later, what was during what period, you know. And like, they make a lot of money, they become really famous around the world, you know, but I can imagine that they don't have a lot very active social lives or even sleep at night, because this is a lot of work to put out, man. You know, it is a lot of music for you to record and edit and produce and this and that, and my God, it gives me a headache just thinking about it, you know. Okay, so I'm gonna give you guys a hands-on example here on my Spotify account using Twice, you know, the K-pop group that I mentioned. I don't know if you guys can see it, but here's the thing. They have a very wide discography, you know. There might be, I'm gonna show you guys a few, but I'm starting them. So the first album here, these are their releases, their albums, right? It starts here with Twice Coaster Part 1 and then Part 2, okay? So Part 1 is essentially, they have a few different songs, you know. Just 7 songs in this album here, which is Twice Coaster Lane 1, okay? It's just 7 songs, but then in Twice Coaster Lane 2, they have 9 songs, and some of them are actually songs that were in Twice Coaster Lane 1, the first album before this, you know? So this is one of the reasons why it gets so damn confusing, right? And then over here you have Twice-tagram, which is another album that they released, you know, which has even more songs as well. This one here has 13 songs, so just about the length of a full meter album. But if I'm not mistaken, there are also a few songs here that were included in other albums that they had before in the past, you know. And if not, then that's totally fine. Then they have their own little thing here. However, later we have this thing called Merry and Happy, which came out, oh yeah, by the way, 15 songs, this one, you know. And this does actually have songs that were in the album Twice-tagram, you know, the one that you just saw. So it's really confusing, but I'm guessing this is kind of like a Christmas album which had a few more songs. And by the way, in case you guys didn't catch it, Twice Coaster Lane 2, Twice-tagram, and Merry and Happy were all released in 2017. So 3 albums in 1 year, just in case you're not keeping track at home, okay? And then there's Summer Nights in 2018, which has 9 songs, so almost essentially a full album as well, you know. This one came out in 2018, the year after all those other ones, so very good amount of music as well. And then we have BDZ in the same year, which again has 10 songs, and they even have a few covers also of some by other artists, you know. And this one here also does repurpose some more songs, I do believe. And if not, if it doesn't repeat the songs, you know, from the other album, it still is its own thing, BDZ, okay? This is one of the albums that I first discovered by them when I started listening to K-pop. And then in the same year, we have Yes or Yes, okay? 7 songs, so it's kind of like a little mini album, you know? One of my most favorite works by Twice, by the way. I love them so much. I love this album so much, I really do. And then in the same year, they released The Year of Yes, which is essentially the same exact album but with 2 extra songs. And one of them is, they are the Korean versions of songs from before, you know? So this is what I'm talking about. It gets really confusing because you can just listen to this one instead of the other one, and you're gonna get the same songs as the other one and also get a few freebies that are in Korean, you know? And then there is the BDZ Repackage, the album that I said before. It's the same album, but now there are a few other songs, you know, and it even says in parentheses repackaged. So literally the same discography, the same exact songs, but with a few others, you know, a few new ones. So it gets really confusing. And then there's Feel Special, okay, which was released in 2019. By the way, in case you guys were not keeping track, in 2018 alone, Twice released 5 albums, you know. So there was this one, Summer Nights, BDZ, Yes or Yes, The Year of Yes, and then the BDZ Repackage. All of those were in 2018, okay. In 2019, we had Feel Special, which was a really good album that spawned a very good single as well, one of my personal favorites, okay. And then in the same year, a little bit later, they released And Twice, which I'm guessing is kind of like a different album, you know. I'm not sure if this one has songs that that were present in the previous album before this, but whether or not it's new, it's completely different or similar, it is another album in the same year. And then in 2020, last year, they released And Twice, the repackage, okay? They released the repackage of the album from the previous year, okay? So the same songs, but with a few new ones, all right? And then in the same year, they released More and More, which is a completely new album with 7 songs. So it kind of classifies as like a mini album, I would guess, you know? Not a full-length actual album with about 12 songs or so. They released this one, and in the same year they released Eyes Wide Open, which I was actually really anticipating. I love this album. It actually is an album because it has 13 songs, so it has about the length of a full-length album, you know. Very enjoyable. This is probably one of my favorite Twice albums, if not my actual favorite, because there was a lot of hype behind this, you know. And in 2020 alone, they released those 3, and now their latest release is an album, a 10-song album called Perfect World, you know. So yes, so far this year, so far in 2021, they have released just 1 full-length studio album that comes in about 10 songs, you know. So this encompasses all of Twice's discography. So far they have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 studio albums in total throughout their discography, okay? And they started releasing them back in 2016, okay? So that's 15 albums in 5 years. Western pop singers, eat your heart out. Okay, so the takeaway from all of this, from what I'm saying in this video, is that K-pop is really just confusing as all hell, okay? And this was a mild example, by the way, you know? Twice, even though they are confusing, they are still a little bit easier to follow than other ones, you know? But the thing is that, I mean, I don't think I even should get too much into this, you know, but I'm gonna just show you guys a little preview, very small preview of the other band called Luna, okay? But I'm not gonna get into too much detail like I did with Twice just now, but I want you guys just to see them so you can get a little bit of an idea. So, okay, I already see I'm gonna get lost. Okay then, so, oh boy. Okay, so basically this is how this band works, you know. Looks like they only have our single. They don't even have albums, just singles, you know, because they have different members, and each one of the different members, like I said, they have their own solo work, you know, starting from down here. So they just keep going and going, and every year it's a bunch of different albums, you know, and eventually they do come together, you know. I think they have 1 actual album here. These are the singles, you know, from different albums, and this one here I believe is the latest release, which is a full-length album. Yep, I believe it is a full-length album by them, but it has only 7 songs, so I guess it's kind of like a mini album. album, so it gets really confusing, you know. And oh, and by the way, it looks like I made a little mistake here. Some of these, even though they say single, if you open them, they actually are full-length albums almost, you know. So even though they're classified as singles, each one has different songs in them, you know, a different amount of songs. And Luna is kind of annoying. Here's one from 2020, which is an EP. It's classified as an extended play with a bunch of different songs, you know. Luna is annoying because there's like 20 freaking girls in the group, you know, so it gets really confusing. I'm not going to get into this right now because not even I would be able to explain it to you guys. But the point is that I love K-pop. I really do. I love listening to it. But there's so many twists and turns, you know, with so many different kinds of material being released that it gets really hard to follow sometimes, and it can be a little aggravating. But it's all good, you know. This is probably the thing that most irritates me about this genre, and I don't even care to follow it too much. No, I just listen to the songs that I like, and I actually always end up making my own playlists with my own favorite songs. So it just makes it easier that way. But anyway, guys, I think I'm gonna wrap it up here because just talking about this is making me feel a little confused myself, you know, and I'm getting hungry, so I'm a little dizzy. But anyway, if you happen to also like K-pop and you have your own opinions about this, then shout out in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you have to say about it, you know. And if you happen to like this video, then please give it a like and subscribe to my channel because I release videos every single day. And also hit the notification bell while you're at it to know exactly what time I upload because I do it completely at random every day, okay? So it's all good, guys. This is Chazzy signing out for now, and as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Roll the outro screen.